the Speaker of the House, who just put forward a HEROES Act bill, which again pulled out student loan relief. I haven't even gotten to the provision in there that offers the small business loan program to lobbyists on K Street. Yes, the Democrats put in the bill to expand the small business loan program to lobbyists on K Street. Not making this up. They took out the student loan provision, lobbyists on K Street, $1 trillion to states, cities, and towns, which again, as I've told you, not going to go, not all of it's going to where they say it's going. It's the big secret of America. Federal money earmarked to states tend to get diverted to a lot of the donors. She didn't mention in that interview one thing about health care. She didn't mention one thing about the 27 million people who have lost their employer-sponsored health care. You remember in 2018 when the Democrats were running in the midterms, their big thing was health care. Not a mention of health care. Again, they are framing, she won't even say in the interview about the benefits. She won't even talk about the COBRA expansion because she's aware of how absurd, inadequate, and what a wet kiss it is to private health care. That's going to bail out the private health insurance industry. COBRA expansion. That's not going to bail out the 27 million people who have lost their employer-sponsored health care. By the way, that's added with the 28 million people who were without health insurance before. That's 50 million people with no health insurance right now in the richest country, the greatest country on earth. Add those 50 million to, I don't know the exact number, however many were the tens of millions that were underinsured. Oh, America, best healthcare system in the world. And by the way, we don't know if there's going to be a resurgence of the coronavirus in America. I think there's going to be, based on what we're seeing, these terrible videos of people gathering without masks on top of each other like sardines at bars, at beaches. You see these Trump morons from my hometown of Long Island. Did you see that video? These Trump fanatics on Long Island, like basically threatening a journalist. They're all outside without masks, packed together. So we're possibly gonna have an uptick in coronavirus cases with 50 million people without health care. Oh, how heroic this Democratic Party is. And by the way, again, I said this in the beginning, I want to make clear, this doesn't take, we shouldn't forget that the Republicans are just as terrible. They're not offering real relief. Trump's not offering real relief. I think he might come July or August if his poll numbers are looking like he's going to lose. I think it's very possible. Trump might say, F it, Medicare for all, F it, $2,000 a month. He might just do it to get reelected. And you want to know something? Mitch McConnell will go along with it because Mitch McConnell, top priority, Supreme Court, federal judges. He cannot stack the Supreme Court with more Republicans, and he can't stack the judiciary around the country with more Republicans if he doesn't have the White House. So they'll go along with Medicare for all. They'll go along with $2,000 a month for a couple months, get Trump reelected, and then abandon it. You heard it here. That's going to happen. And the Democrats are allowing Trump the ability to do that by not proposing it themselves. They're going to allow Trump to move left of Biden and the Democrats. And I got to tell you, it pains me to say this. Bernie right now is part of the problem. Let me play you this clip.
To pass anything. If this came to the Senate floor, would you vote for it?
I would vote for a very substantive piece of legislation. And really, millions of people today who are hungry in America. They don't have any food in their cupboards. There are people today who cannot afford to go to a doctor even when they have coronavirus symptoms. There are elderly people who are sitting home alone, who are scared to death about the future. If you're concerned about the working class of this country, understand the extraordinary suffering unprecedented that is now taking place demand that Congress act. Now, I think what Pelosi did in the House, it is significant, it is important. I have some disagreements with it, and I want to see the Senate improve upon it. Among other things, I happen to believe that we should go in the direction of a paycheck security process similar to what has been done in Europe, which says to every worker in America, you will continue to receive your paycheck and the other benefits which you had when you were on the job. And when this crisis is over, hopefully sooner than later, you're just going to go back to work. I also believe that during this crisis, instead of funding the COBRA program, what we should do is make sure that all people in this country, including the 87 million who are uninsured or underinsured before the pandemic, have access to health care. And you do that by allowing Medicare to fill in the gaps for the uninsured and the underinsured. But I think Pelosi, at least unlike the Republican leadership, said, you know what? We have terrible suffering in this country. We need to get money out to the cities and towns, to the hospitals. We need to protect working people. And I would hope that the Republicans wake up and understand the severity of the crisis that we're facing and the suffering that now exists.
I love Bernie, but why at a time where we are essentially, I mean, I don't think it's too strong to say, in an economic depression, why the niceties with Nancy Pelosi? He says this was significant. No, it really wasn't, Bernie. It's a messaging bill, and they're talking about expanding COBRA. It's a messaging bill, and they're talking about another $1,200 check. It's a messaging bill, and she took out any relief for student loans. It's a messaging bill, and they put in a bailout for K Street lobbyists. It's a messaging bill, and again, another round of unemployment benefits, which we've already seen the states cannot handle. The unemployment offices are overrun. A lot of people filing for unemployment are finding they can't get it in a timely manner. So I understand, being in the Senate and the House, these people, it's not, you're not supposed to go scorched earth. But what you've been doing so far, Bernie, is not working. It hasn't worked since 2016. The playing nice and being diplomatic and being deferential to Tom Perez with the Unity Tour, with Chuck Schumer signing legislation with Chuck, and now, what Pelosi has done is very significant. Here's my minor disagreements. That's not how we're going to win. You have to shame these people. You have to apply public pressure to these people. And I'm not going as far as others. I've made my case why I think these people calling Bernie a sellout and a fraud and a coward are ridiculous. He's not a sellout. He's not a coward. He's not a fraud. And I think I already went on a rant on Friday about this, but I think those people saying that should chill out a little bit. They're losing perspective, in my view. But Bernie is still, to me, one of the top leaders of the progressive movement. Well, you're not going to get hardcore progressive opposition against the Democrats driving the getaway car. I mean, that's what the Democratic Party has done here. That's what they've been doing for decades. They are just driving the getaway car for the Republican bank robbery of our futures. So, who's worse? The bank robbers or the getaway drivers? Well, the bank robbery can't happen without the getaway car. Go watch a few bank robbery movies. You need the getaway car or truck or helicopter or private jet in the Democrats' case. So I don't understand this deferential talk. And by the way, AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Ro Khanna and all these people, Pramila Jayapal, they look to Bernie for leadership. If Bernie was forcefully calling out Pelosi, Schumer, Biden, as this is not enough. It's disgusting that we have any bailout for lobbyists. It's disgusting that we don't have student loan relief in this. COBRA? No, Medicare. You tell me, Speaker Pelosi, why is COBRA more cost-effective or efficient than Medicare right now? You tell me, Joe Biden, stealing this clip, Kyle Kalinske found this a couple months ago. You tell me, Joe Biden, what changed since you said this?
The consensus in this country, because the real problem is going to be taking on those insurance companies, because they're going to be the ones. You're going to have Harry and Louise. Remember those ads with Harry and Louise out there saying this is awful what the Democrats are proposing. And so the second thing is you got to provide for. I think everyone should essentially be able to be, from age 1 on, essentially have the same kind of coverage you have in Medicare. It should be just universal across the board. We could afford to do that.
Sorry to that woman who got, sniffed and headbutted by Joe Biden there. Hey, Joe, what happened? I don't know why Bernie didn't bring this up in the primary. What happened, Joe Biden? 13 years ago, you were on the Medicare for All train. 13 years ago, you said we could afford it. Well, if we could afford it 13 years ago, why can't we afford it now, Joe? Nancy, Chuck, Tom. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.